For the first case study, excited, we've got one of our clients from North America from the Boston area with three facilities through group training facilities. Bar Groove, we got Sue's here, and the Bar Groove team. I don't know if we've got Alana here as well, and um, Alex, but we'll see. And excited to have you guys here. We're going to give the screen over and I will tee up Sue's. So just so you know, first of all, it's late for her. It's 9 o'clock in Boston. Kids have gone to bed. She's come up late to support this case study and be on the evening session. Suze, thanks for being here. And I've been supporting these guys over the past year. It's been awesome, year and a half, and they've done tremendous work. We talk about those constraints around, we want to grow, but we've got money, clients, team. And sometimes we got to put a lot of work into the team pieces and the systems that drive operations and people that are going to support back into the growth side. You can't work both sides at the same time always. And so just a great story here around how they've coordinated three facilities, 26 staff of instructors, and more people in operations. I'm excited to have Suze present your case study today.
Awesome. So, as Sean mentioned, I'm Suze. I'm the general manager at Bar Groove. And then Alana, who's not with us tonight, is the owner and founder. And Alex also um, co-founded it with Alana, I suppose. He's done all the back end for years. So, we're going to talk a little bit today about the work we've done in the past. Really 12 to 18 months. That isn't the most exciting work, but it was building all of the foundations of our business with NPE and with Sean's help. So a little bit of background. Bar Groove was born in 2018. So by the time we found NPE, we had actually been in business for over 5 years. And Alana created Bar Groove out of what she saw was a necessity and a total lack of group fitness in the Boston area that provided well-rounded workouts that clients actually wanted to go to. She had an extensive background in dance and in teaching traditional bar fitness. But she saw all of these women coming through and then going to a second workout to get their cardio in, and really just feeling like the classes that were offered at traditional bar studios were monotonous, and providing like the same workout every day. So her goal in opening Bar Groove was to find a better way to move our bodies, and she found trampoline fitness and really fell in love with it, and developed her own methodology to combine rebounding on the trampoline and more traditional bar work. So all resistance work using light weights and isometric movements, kind of the more traditional bar, with the goal of providing low impact, efficient workouts, and with a big emphasis on creating a supportive community of women and a place for real connection and camaraderie. So our fitness model, and this is what Sean was mentioning at the beginning, is where, there's not as many of us at NPE, but we are a group fitness model, so higher volume, lower price point than most of the people in this room. And we have three studio locations in Boston. When we found NPE, we were just about to open our third studio location. And we really joined NPE out of necessity. For those 5 years, we were like constantly on a hamster wheel. There was no foundation to the business. It was just like throwing things at the wall to get sales and then not seeing them through when if something stopped working. The challenges that we were facing, we had a lot of problems. There were literally no systems. I don't think there was a single SOP. There was just really no foundation to the business. Um, and we were getting poor quality leads. We didn't have any sort of sales process other than sending people emails with like sales deals. Um, and we also saw poor retention and we had gaps in staffing, training, leadership, communication, pretty much everything. And as a result, there was no clarity within the business, and everyone felt stressed because of that lack of communication, clarity, and systems. Everybody felt behind on work, and we were also repeating a lot of work, specifically in training. Every time we were training new instructors, it was like Alana was starting from scratch because nothing had been documented or systemized. So Alana found NPE on an Instagram ad, and she had forwarded that on to Alex. And then he reached out, got on a call with Daniel. And the initial hesitation for us is like making a 12-month commitment for coaching was a lot of money for us to spend. Um, Especially when we're opening another studio, like cutting our salaries to nothing to do that. It was like, okay, can we do this? So we had to overcome that fear to say yes to the coaching. And Daniel ended up suggesting, hey, why don't you do our 6-week trial? It was like a sales auto closer building trial. And within 6 weeks of working with Sean and Daniel in that, we had built a new primary offer. We had rebuilt all of our membership options to have 3, 6, 12-month commitments. We had built scripts for sales closing. Like just in 6 weeks, the business was in a better point than it had been um, in the whole time that I was there, which I didn't it was initially just Alex and Alana, and I came on in October of 2024. So I had been on for like 10 months. And this was the first time that I felt like we had some sort of real strategy. And then from then on, the support from NP has allowed us to finally create a foundation to our business 5 years into the business and given us also permission to step back from focusing on immediate sales, immediate profit growth to actually build systems for sustainable long-term growth. And that's been the hard part because you want to move on to marketing and see your revenue increasing. So for us, the plan to get these systems in place was to systemize client experience by creating consistency with class formats, with standards for all of our instructors, and also making a consistent client journey. We also needed to build an operations manual, hire a head coach so that we could actually have the resources to train and develop our instructors as well as hold them accountable to our standards. Um, Establish a company hub to centralize all of our staff communications and share all of our SOPs, and also develop a system for hiring and onboarding new instructors to get certified for their first class format within a more reasonable time. So all of this really has taken us like 12 to 18 months to do all of it. Um, and I'll go through a little bit of how we do each one, but I think a key thing here is like these were all long projects that don't have immediate gratification, so it was hard to stick it out during this time. Um, for systemizing the experience and standards at the studio, we had to define standards for class delivery of all our different class formats and then implement consistent evaluations. Previously, we did have evaluation process, but it was like a 60-page evaluation. And because it was so detailed and so in depth, of course, that was never actually executed. So we had to think about like what delivers our clients the best experience at every class they come to. How are they going to get the most out of class and make that into like a one-page evaluation. So I like pictured that on the right to get an idea. But this was the first time that we created and shared with our instructors specific um, standards for the things that are critical to delivering a good class every time. And then we hired our head coach who goes in, and each instructor is getting an evaluation at least once a month. So there's finally standards and accountability for our instructors. Then we also built out a systemized client journey. So before we didn't really have any set journey from, first purchase of our primary offer to membership and then the first 3 months of membership to really making them like a raving fan and a part of our community. The biggest challenges with setting these standards, and I would think this would be pretty universal, was the reception by our senior instructors. So there had been a corporate culture for years where um, they were trained, then they were let loose, and they could do what they wanted. So for some people, having specific standards and being told that certain parts of their classes needed to be different um, was met with some resistance and frustration about like what seemed like more responsibilities without increased pay. But really, they should have been doing these things all along. And then the other challenge was for us, because this was such a long project, we realized changes and tweaks that we needed to make along the way. So it was sometimes a challenge to re-communicate things and having our team feel like, hey, when are we going to be to a final endpoint, and when are we going to know all of the standards without changes being made? The second project, and this was, I think, the most time intensive, and Alex worked heavily on this with Alana and Stephanie, was building an operations manual and growing our team. So this was building out a comprehensive operational operations manual for every single movement that our instructors are teaching in all five of our class formats. Um, Coupled with hiring a head coach to help us film everything that we needed for this manual and to then trickle it down and teach our team how to use the manual. And then to level up all of our instructors to the current formats and standards. So I'd say the challenges here were the same as the last in terms of reception by instructors for having to follow standards. And the second challenge for us was onboarding the head coach. I think we hadn't hired another full-time head before. All of our instructors are working like just teaching classes. Um, and if we had done this over, we would have had all of our team design, scorecards, etc., in place before hiring the head coach to have a more seamless onboarding for her. But what has worked really well is that our instructors finally have clear resources for their training and growth. So this took us about 9 months, and Alex literally he coded a full comprehensive manual in HTML that has every one of our class formats, along with how to plan each song and all of the movements within that song. Um, it has a comprehensive list of every single movement that you could do within the class format and a corresponding video. So this was a really long project. I think we probably could have given up a billion times. And we still have some work to do here based on updates we've
It's
made.
too detailed.
Yeah, it's very detailed, but it is like now simplifying the training process immensely. Before, like our instructors really just had no resource. And we were just learning from Sean, like how important it is for them to have everything that they need to deliver the standard that we want. Then the third thing that we did was establish a communications hub. So this, I'm happy to say, was actually a really quick solution. So before this past June of 2025, all of our communication was done in group texts, iMessages, via email. People are sending it to one person and not including the full team, and it was a mess. That was how we handled sub requests and everything. So, like that sometimes even led to missing that an instructor couldn't teach a class or something like that because it was so confusing. So we looked at some different softwares that would streamline our communication and scheduling, and found something called Prosper, which integrates with Mariana Tech, which is our booking platform. So we implemented that, trained our staff on how to use it, and then for the first couple of weeks, I really handheld everybody, was messaging them to make sure that they had their notifications set up and that they're looking at this as frequently as they would look at text messages from us and treat it with the same importance. Um, and it was actually so easy. I'd say within 2 weeks, pretty much everybody was using Prosper the way that we would want, and it has saved us so much time. It's also a one-stop shop for viewing all of the SOPs related to studio processes. So like pins for iPads, you know, tips and tricks for checking in clients and everything that they might need. And we're constantly texting me about it like 5 a.m. or something. Now they can go on here and find it really quickly. So this is just like a quick view of how everything is organized in terms of the SOPs, but this is also available on their phone as an app. So that was a big appeal compared to having those SOPs in the instructor manual, which is less user friendly on a phone. This is in their app. They can click on the different icons to text us. We have a bulletin for all like full team related announcements to congratulate instructors on different accomplishments or share good feedback they're getting from clients as kind of a morale tool. And then this shows the hub for SOPs, and it's just been really easy to use. And part of this also was, yeah, creating SOPs for every single thing that you could think of. So, and then the last process that we're going to talk about today that we put in place was an updated hiring and onboarding system. So last year, even with the manual, Alana, we took on a group of 6 new trainees, and they started in January. And come July, only one of them was teaching on the schedule. The rest were still working through all the training. So we're like, something is extremely broken here. And I guess, I mean, they just were not hired with the right expectations about the timeline in which they had to do everything. And some parts of it were way too detailed, and it was extremely ineffective. So we developed a system for hiring and onboarding new instructors within 6 weeks, as well as developed a project management system so that I can help stay on top of everyone meeting um, their timeline. And that includes like both the new trainees and our head coach and Alana to make sure that they're reviewing things and getting people things back to our trainees in the same in the time that we've committed. So this has been huge. Like the challenge for us was allocating the resources to do everything on that timeline. But since we implemented this in August and it really took 1 month to implement, we now have 7 new instructors on on the schedule. And their quality of the classes that they've been teaching has been great compared to newer instructors in the past. So as a result of all of these changes, which I think like I just can't highlight how tedious all of this work was. But we have happy clients. They have really noticed the improvements to the classes at the studio, the consistency across instructors, how much higher quality the classes are that are led by new instructors. We finally have accountability to standards, and instructors know, like, hey, even if Steph isn't here evaling me, like there are things that I have to do because she might be there, and we just never had that before. And from the leadership point of view, I think that we have much more credibility, clarity with our instructors. So we have more trust from them because of that. And we've been able to gain back hours in our weeks to focus on business growth and marketing, which is just so necessary. And we have, yeah, six, I think it's actually seven new instructors hired and onboarded. In terms of numbers, we've seen 25% growth in the number of members year over year. And another important shift for us, and we hope to see this shift much more drastically in the next year, but 58% of our revenue is coming from monthly recurring revenue. So our memberships compared to 50% last year, which is notable because we do have ClassPass users still coming to the studio, which we'd like to shut off. But ClassPass is progressively becoming less of a big percentage of our revenue. And we have all of our members locked into 3, 6, or 12-month commitments. We just did a raise the rates, and there wasn't really any pushback as a result of the raise the rates campaign. Our on track members are consistently over 80%. So the vast majority of our members are really engaged and happy at the studio. And we're fully staffed for the first time in 12 months. So which is great. In terms of overall transformation, like we finally have a business. Before, I think we just had like stitched together classes, but it wasn't a business. Like we couldn't, there was nothing, no documentation, nothing that we could have shared if we wanted somebody to take over the business, like literally nothing. And implementing systems has given us time to start focusing on marketing leads and growth in the past quarter. Our instructors finally have leadership and we're ready to get into growth mode. For takeaways, it's just like the fundamentals first. It has been really hard to focus on the operational piece for such an extended period, because we haven't been seeing quite the increase in revenue that we would have liked during this time. Um, but we just had to make that mindset shift that it was really important to take the time to focus on the fundamentals, even if there's no immediate gratification. And I put going it alone never works because that's one of our success principles. And we needed to, yeah, work together, work with Sean, and get this all in place.
And can I add too, Suze? I think
Yeah.
one of the things that resonated with at least me and probably you and Alana when we were first talking about it, is Alana's big on, let's grow revenue, let's grow revenue, let's grow revenue. But like when we were talking about it, and we were talking about the machine, as Sean uses the analogy, like if your machine is broken and you're
There
feeding
were no people
thousands of
in.
things into the machine, nothing's going to end up the way you want it to look at the end. We really had to look in the mirror and say, hey, what's the point of burning cash hours and time? Getting new people in here if we're not going to be able to convert them. So we really spent a lot of time trying to tweak and come up with a system that gives us the best opportunity to be efficient when we do actually, spend more and more of our time on, lead generation and bringing people in. So we're hopeful now that we've got these systems in place. The results are going to follow at a much more efficient rate than they would have had we just gone full bore on digital ads and all sorts of different other marketing attempts without first, putting in the work on the foundation. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing guys. Thank you so much for sharing this case study, and it's inspirational for everybody. I think the biggest piece, not just the incredible projects you've done and the foundation you've built for systems and people and scale now, right? But the amount you've reduced stress and noise and friction for everybody in the organization is incredible with what you've got in place. And that's really the job as leaders, keep people healthy and do things to have a healthy team and systems and processes. So, but I think like this is the trap that so many people, they're like, oh yeah, all this work, like a year, like, nah. I just want to go make Instagram posts and like, run some ads and like get some attention and, get some quick wins. But that always fails, right? Because you're trying to, as you said, like, put fill up a leaky bucket. And what you've done the work now to really allow, a long-term path of scale, right? And without pain as you go. What's been How did you shift your mindset? You talked about the mindset shift of like be able to delay gratification on the growth engine while doing the long-term projects that are long cycle, long term, like you 2, 3, 4 quarters in some of these projects, right? So how did you mentally adjust? Because I think that's the place where most people fail, is they're like, nah, a year, I'm out. Like, yeah, even though we sign leases for 5 years, 10 years, like a year sounds like brutal and like I just want to do something else, right? How did you lead yourselves through this season?
I mean, I think to me it was we've already stepped on the rake and smashed our nose enough times to know that if we don't make the changes, if we don't make serious fundamental changes, we're not going to get the results. So it's fun chasing the sugar high of, we can put a sale in and get a boost at this month, that kind of thing, but it's not a sustainable long-term strategy, and we've been punished into accepting that. And then I think you got NP holding the mirror up to us and reminding us, hey, this isn't where it needs to be, has been the motivation for us. And just the belief that, putting the work in and doing the right things and getting the results internally is going to end up in the long run getting us closer to a successful studio.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We're excited to watch your continued progress, and it's going to be exciting now, path of growth ahead. I'm sure we're going to have some growth case studies from you coming up in future events in 2026. So well done. Great job, and thank you for sharing your story.